London is defined by its food in a number of ways, I think, because London is a great city. It's a city that people have come and settled in for hundreds of years, and therefore they brought their food with them.
From a handful of Romans settling in London in 50 AD to the 8 million people who live there today, London's history has been shaped by a steady stream of new arrivals. But all of these diverse groups have one thing in common: food, which means that London is ready to indulge the food taste of every single visitor to the 2012 Games. At the Container Cafe overlooking the Olympic Stadium, the Great British Fried Breakfast is being given a makeover. The slow roasted butter beans are a delicious twist on the traditional dish. Long jumper and English Olympic hopeful Chris Tomlinson explains how the English breakfast provides him the nutrition he needs to succeed on the athletics field.
That's a healthy fat. And then also got a bit of carbs in the bread, a bit of fibre. This looks to me like it's granary bread, so there's a bit more fibre in that as opposed to white bread. So this is a really healthy diet.
And what traditionally follows breakfast, just in time to give the English a mid-morning boost: coffee. Coffee houses first appeared in London in the 1650s. Bar Italia has been open in Soho since 1949. Owner Antonio Pelledri explains how the English like their cappuccinos.
The secret of a good cappuccino is not to boil the milk, it has to be frothy without being hot. And you do it not by looking in the jug to see the milk, you do it by listening to the jug. English people now are much more discerning. I think they really realise that, good coffee is important as well. Bar Italia hasn't changed or deviated. We don't want to be the trendiest place in town. We just do what we do best, which is serve good coffee to really nice people 24 hours a day. And that's it.
With coffee over in Soho, it's a 10-minute walk to the new Corinthia Hotel, where Michelin-starred chef Gary Holyhead is showcasing the very best of British produce.
But what I wanted to do here is get back to really what it's all about, is the simplicity of the food and great quality of the food. I think British food now is looking at that provenance. People now want to know where things come from and how things are grown and the welfare of the animals. If you look at our fish supplies, I generally tend to buy off the south coast. And I have about three or four different suppliers on the coast that work in the same sort of way. So I can cover my menu through those 3 or 4 guys on the coast.
By the time you've just about recovered from lunch, it'll be time for one of London's oldest and most pleasurable food experiences: afternoon tea at the Hilton Park Lane. Food historian Nenny Linford explains why England is so famous for its 4 p.m. tea.
Britain and tea are, of course, sort of go together. We're known as a nation of tea lovers. And the story is an interesting story. It goes back really to the 17th century when tea is an exotic foreign drink, very, very luxurious, very expensive, that's brought to London. It's popularised really by the wife of Charles II. And because she drinks tea, she's come from Portugal, she marries Charles II. The royalty are doing this, therefore others follow. I mean, that's a classic thing, basically. So tea is a very aristocratic thing. And then the whole tradition of having afternoon tea happens later on in the 18th century, and that is this idea, but again, it's very fashionable and it's an aristocratic thing, and it's to do with you've had a very early lunch, you're going to eat very late, but in the middle of the afternoon you're going to have something delicious to eat, a small little nibble, and that really takes off.
Following the cream tea, dinner will be the next big food event of the day, and in the shadow of the city towers is the epicentre of Britain's most popular cuisine. The first Indian restaurant was opened in 1809 in central London. 200 years later, curry has almost become the English national dish, with Indian restaurants never more than a few minutes' walk of any urban area. Tayyab's is one of the better-known eateries, offering its customers specialities like nahari, Mughal korma and Kahari lamb chops. To keep an Olympic city up and running, vast quantities of fresh produce are needed every day, and there's only one place that can supply it: the giant new Spitalfields Market, now located close to the Olympic Stadium. It's been operating since the 13th century and still trading through each night 6 days a week. No longer just selling British fruit and vegetables, it caters to all of London's food tastes. Veteran trader Peter Thomas explains how the market has modernised.
Well, the industry has changed rapidly. I mean, if my father come into the business now, he wouldn't recognise 50% of the stuff. You've only got to see the amount of Asian friends we've got here who we do lots and lots of business with. We're imported things like Corella, Doody, things like that was unheard of years ago, which are part of our diet now.
And as dawn breaks and the night's business is concluded, only one thing is on everyone's mind: breakfast. This is DJ Clark in London, UK, for China Daily.